As mentioned in the introduction, today we are delighted to have with us DePrice Taylor, who has served on the Kansas City Board of Commissioners for Parks and Recreation since 2023. DePrice was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and has more than a decade of experience in nonprofit leadership and community stakeholder collaboration, and currently serves as the Executive Director of Community Relations for the Kansas City Current, which is a professional women's soccer team. And as I mentioned in the intro, in case you joined us a little late, Kansas City the Current just opened the first women's stadium in the world for a professional sports team right here in Kansas City, and had their game and they won on Saturday. So DePrice, congratulations again. We'd love to hear more about your personal journey to civic engagement, what motivated you, and what your board experience has been like. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, DePrice.
Well, thank you, Wendy. First of all, good morning, everyone. Wendy, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to present a little bit of my story, a little bit of my journey, a little bit of my testimony, and the work that you do in amplifying the voices of women and the representation on boards and commission. My voice is a little gone, if you all can't tell, and that is because I have been living the dream, honestly. As Wendy mentioned, I am the Executive Director of Community Relations for the Kansas City Current, the women's professional soccer team here in Kansas City, and we just opened CPKC Stadium on Saturday, home of the very first stadium purpose-built for a women's professional sports team. And I get chills and emotional when I just think about even just saying that. So thank you all for allowing me to share just a little bit of my testimony with you all today. My story starts in Detroit, and I think that's so important because it's the foundation of who I am. It's the foundation of my lived experiences. But it all started with my grandmother, who taught me the purpose of community and the importance of community. Growing up in the environment and the circumstances in which I did, those things were very important to have the resources and access available to me, becoming the first in my family to graduate college and do some other things as well. So I'm very proud, but I'm very fortunate and grateful and blessed to have had a foundation like my grandmother who set me on this path today. My experience in serving has always been in nonprofit. It's been something that I've just done naturally because I wouldn't be here without those folks, without those resources who have propelled me to this position right now here in Kansas City. I'm not from Kansas City, as I stated, but when I moved here in 2016, 2017, I needed to find home. I needed to build relationships. I knew that community was the only way that I would feel safe. When we talk about inclusion, it's a matter of feeling safe and having a sense of belonging. And so a good friend of mine invited me to a networking collaboration event and with the city. I think Mayor Lucas helped put that on as well. And going into it, I have to be honest, I was very apprehensive. A lot of times when we go to networking events, it's for someone who is a real relationship builder, someone who understands that relationships are the greatest wealth. I wanted to make real contact with people. That was quickly eliminated when I walked through the door. And I say it was quickly eliminated because I saw women that looked like me. I saw women of all backgrounds. I saw women of all demographics. I saw women of all economic statuses. And that intimidation eased just a little bit. And I was able to talk to them about their experiences. I was able to ask them questions. Did you need to know certain things? Did you have to have a certain degree? Did you have to be an executive leader in a corporation? And none of those things were true. I was able to bring my own lived experience and have a seat at the table and be able to really make a difference in the community that I lived in. And so some of the things that I've been able to do just by serving on the Parks and Rec board, I get emotional when I just think about, if you're familiar with Kansas City and take Swope Pool, for example. This was a pool where Black African Americans were not able to swim in the 1950s. I had a board meeting last night where 60% of the board are women, but I had a board meeting last night and I'm sitting at that table, a public hearing, and get to talk about how we're gonna renovate Swope Pool. And I think, and that gives me chills. My fiance and I just bought our first home. the first in our families to do so, but that home is right near Kessler Park. And that park is so historic when you think about Kansas City. And so I get to really have an impact in the things that I get to do. And I'm just very blessed to have that opportunity. I could talk for a while about the work that I get to do. When I think about even my role just with Kansas City Current and the community, I'm here in this role because of opportunities that existed for a kid like me. And so I'll leave you all with this. I know my time is limited and there's an opportunity to ask some questions, but I've been reading this book by Dr. Anita Phillips, and she's a trauma therapist. And until I read her definition of purpose, I always tried to figure out, am I in my purpose? Am I living my purpose? But she defines purpose as the gift you offer to meet a need in the community that you live in. Purpose is productive. Purpose is relational. And it's about the service to those around you. And so when I first started, I talked about how I'm living a dream, but the truth is I'm living in my purpose right now. And so I hope that if there's someone on this call who has considered joining the board, really, really think about that, because you have the ability to make an impact for community, but for women. And for women who look like me and other minority women. So I'll leave it there. I know there'll probably be some questions, but thank you all for your time. And I'm just honored and so blessed to be able to share my story and a little bit of my testimony.
Thank you, DePrice. Thank you for your leadership and for your service and for raising your hand to serve in this capacity.